Taylor sat at the counter in Megan's kitchen, a place he frequented almost every afternoon. Megan, having won her harassment lawsuit from her former job, no longer worked and had moved into an upscale condo. With the financial burden lifted, she could finally focus on finishing her degree. For Taylor, at 14, Megan, 25, was more than just a friend, she was a role model. They shared a unique bond that made them each other's best friends, despite the age difference. Although Taylor lived with his parents in the condo and they appeared to be a typical, happy family, the reality was quite different. In truth, the happy part was a facade. He hadn't sat down for a family meal with both his parents in 6 years. They were consumed by their careers, drifting apart and failing to notice the toll it was taking on their son. Taylor struggled with feelings of depression, grappling with his sense of belonging and identity. Megan was excitedly showing Taylor the Halloween costume she had made, a dazzling Las Vegas showgirl outfit complete with a long feathered headdress. "You'll look stunning in that," Taylor said, admiring the costume on the dressmaker's dummy. Megan held up a spray bottle. "I will once I use this," she replied. "Are those humbugs?" "I've seen their commercials on TV," Taylor asked. "It's Hugglebugs, you silly. Not humbugs. This spray will give me the body I need for this costume," Megan said, posing playfully. "I just wish there was someone to show it off to." "But you're already beautiful, Megan," Taylor reassured her. "Thanks. But sometimes nature needs a little boost. I did get a bit carried away with this one, it has enough for 20 transformations," Megan laughed. "Great service too, I ordered it yesterday, and it's already here." Taylor's mind raced. This was the perfect opportunity. He hated the idea of stealing from Megan, but he felt desperate. This weekend would be the turning point. He discreetly slipped the spray bottle into his backpack while Megan wasn't looking. Having emptied his bank account to leave behind some money for her, he had also stashed away a bus ticket to Vegas in his room. Once alone in his room, he stripped down and followed the directions on the bottle. One spray in his mouth and a few sprays on his body initiated the change, but it didn't complete as he had hoped. Instead of becoming a woman, he found himself transformed into a 14-year-old girl. Panicked, he called the helpline printed on the bottle. "Hugglebugs, this is Mia. How can I assist you?" a cheerful voice answered. "Hi, my name is Megan Wilson, and my Hugglebugs isn't working correctly," Taylor said, using Megan's name. "It's always our fault, never that someone didn't follow the directions," Mia said, almost as if reciting a script. "Let me check your order. You requested a showgirl transformation. What seems to be the issue, Miss Wilson?" "I haven't grown, I'm still 5 tall and..." 5 foot tall? You didn't mention wanting to change your height, but that's an easy fix. Just drink a lot of milk and eat dairy products. The nanites need that for the transformation. You should see results by tomorrow, Mia explained. "Any other concerns?" "No, that's it." "I feel silly now," Taylor said, relieved he hadn't ruined his plans. "Thank you. Bye." Sitting at the table with a tub of ice cream and a tall glass of milk for dinner, he was glad his parents wouldn't be home before 11. His bags were packed and ready for the morning. Over the next few hours, he devoured a gallon of milk, a quart of fudge ripple ice cream, 36 slices of cheese, and a pint of cottage cheese. He felt the changes starting again just before he reached for a pound of butter. To avoid being caught, he went to bed early, hoping his parents wouldn't check on him when they returned. At 5:30, while his parents were still asleep, Taylor woke and was shocked by the reflection staring back at her in the mirror. Her brown hair had transformed into a honey blonde, her height had increased to 5 feet 8 inches, and her figure was stunning. She brushed her long hair into a ponytail, applied makeup she had borrowed from her mother the day before, and slipped into a miniskirt and white blouse she had ordered with her mom's credit card. Then, she quietly left for the bus station. Before leaving, Taylor left a note attempting to explain why running away felt like the only option, apologizing to Megan for taking her Hugglebugs and for not confiding in her. The bus station was a short walk away. Taylor bought a cheese Danish and a pint of milk, convinced she would need more dairy in her system. Despite having planned this for months, she felt a shiver of fear while waiting for the bus. It would take almost 2 days to reach Las Vegas, and she worried about finding work. She needed to afford the permanent Hugglebug soon. The spray bottle would only last for 60 days. But there was no time to dwell on that. Her bus was about to be called. At 9:01, the phone began to ring. "Hello?" Megan said, still groggy. "Good morning. I apologize for waking you so early. This is Mia calling from Hugglebugs regarding your order." "Oh yes, I received it yesterday. Thank you for the quick service. Is there an issue with my order?" Megan inquired. "Well, when you called last night." "I didn't call last night," Megan interrupted. "You didn't, but I took a call from someone who was upset that their transformation didn't change their height," Mia explained, a bit confused. "Hold on, let me grab my spray bottle," Megan replied. As Megan and Mia tried to sort out the situation, Taylor's bus was leaving town, and doubt began to creep in. Maybe she should discuss her fears with Megan. She stood up to ask the bus driver where she could get off and head back home. Just then, tragedy struck as the bus reached the interstate. A stolen VW Bug attempted to outrun a police car and veered in front of a tractor-trailer. The truck driver slammed on the brakes, causing the truck to jackknife. The bus driver swerved to avoid the truck and crashed through the guardrail, rolling down the hill and coming to rest on its side. By 4:54, Megan was increasingly worried. Taylor had always stopped by this time, but today he hadn't shown up. Unable to find her Hugglebugs bottle, she realized Taylor was the only one who had been there the day before. Could he have taken it, and why would he? Where was he? Megan sat down and turned on the early news as she tried to figure out what to do. Recapping our earlier story, a bus was forced off the interstate this morning, resulting in 17 injuries, one of them serious, the news anchor reported. Megan was stunned by the sight on her television, rescue workers treating injured passengers and a helicopter taking off. One victim was transported by life flight to Memorial Hospital in serious condition. Mrs. Williams came home early. 5:30 was early for her. Taylor's school had called when he hadn't arrived, and there was no answer when she tried to reach him. Finding his room empty, she discovered a note addressed to Megan. Rushing to Megan's door, Mrs. Williams pounded frantically. Startled by the noise, Megan peered through the peephole and saw Taylor's mom. She opened the door to let her in. "Have you seen Taylor?" Mrs. Williams cried. "He left this note and envelope for you." Megan took the note and tore open the envelope, revealing $100. "Oh no, he did take my Hugglebugs," she gasped. "And he was leaving on a bus this morning." "Let's go." "Go? Go where? What Hugglebugs?" Mrs. Williams asked, confused. "Someone took my Hugglebugs, and Taylor left me money for them. His note says he's leaving on a bus this morning, and one was in an accident as it left town. The injured were taken to Memorial Hospital," Megan explained, pulling Mrs. Williams out the door. They hurried to Megan's Honda and sped across town to the hospital. Dr. Lewis was just finishing up with Jane Doe's chart when Megan and Mrs. Williams rushed down the hall. He looked up as they asked the nurse about the bus accident victim brought in that day. Noticing the striking resemblance between Jane Doe and Megan, Dr. Lewis approached them. "You're here about the patient from the bus accident?" he asked. "Yes, where is she?" Mrs. Williams asked. "I'm afraid you're mistaken, my patient is a young woman." "I thought she might be your sister," he replied, looking at Megan in surprise at their similarities. "How is she? Can we see her?" Megan asked urgently. The doctor led Megan and a confused Mrs. Williams to Taylor's room, explaining that her condition wasn't as severe as initially feared. While still unconscious, she was responsive to pain. They entered the room to find a near twin of Megan lying in bed, her head bandaged and a cast on her right arm and left leg. Megan rushed to her side, holding her hand. "Oh, Taylor, please be okay," she whispered. Mrs. Williams looked on in shock as Taylor began to stir. "Megan," a soft voice called. "Right here, and your mom is too," Megan replied. Mrs. Williams's eyes widened as she realized Megan had been telling the truth and ran to her child. "Taylor, why did you want to run away? What was bothering you so much?" "I never knew you were struggling," she asked gently. "Mom, when were you or Dad ever around to notice me at all?" Taylor said weakly, a tear rolling down her cheek. "Oh God, I've been such a terrible mother," Mrs. Williams lamented, realization washing over her as she embraced her child, tears streaming down her face. 4 days later, Taylor was released from the hospital, with her parents and Megan taking her home. A counselor had visited Taylor's room each day, and significant changes were ahead for the family. The most important lesson they learned was to never take each other for granted. Taylor's parents had taken a leave of absence from work to support her through this challenging time. After discovering that Taylor had used Huggle bugs, Dr. Lewis read all the available literature. The nanites had actually sped up Taylor's recovery. He learned that Taylor's parents were unaware of her struggles or the Huggle bugs in her system. Consequently, Dr. Lewis and Megan spent hours discussing the situation. When the change back occurred, he was amazed to see this beautiful young woman transform into a plain-looking teenage boy. In the end, Megan had someone special to take her to the Halloween party.